The city was a whirlwind of noise and chaos. Sirens wailed. People rushed through the streets. At the heart of it all was the police station. A murder investigation demanded their attention.
Where are you?
I don't know. Mommy told me to call 911 if I'm in trouble.
What's your name, honey?
Maggie.
Maggie, can you tell me your address?
I don't know. Mommy told me the address before, but I don't remember.
The dispatcher's heart sank. She had to act fast.
Maggie, can you tell me about where you are? Can you describe it?
I see big gray houses outside. There's a big angry dog barking outside, and there are trees and a broken gate.
It wasn't much, but it was a start. The dispatcher relayed the information to the officers. Among them was Officer Nancy, a seasoned cop with a heart as big as the city she swore to protect. Nancy and her partner sped off into the city. The address Maggie had given led them to a rundown apartment complex. The paint peeled from the walls, and the broken gate swung precariously in the wind. The building was eerily silent, the apartments dark and deserted. Nancy's gut told her Maggie wasn't there.
Police, anyone home?
Nancy's voice echoed through the empty hallway. Only silence answered her. The air hung heavy with the smell of dust and decay. It was clear no one had lived in this building for quite some time. Nancy tried the doorknob, but it was locked. She peered through the grimy window pane. The apartment inside was shrouded in darkness, furniture draped in sheets. Frustration gnawed at Nancy's patience. They were losing precious time.
Let's check with the neighbors. Maybe someone knows where Maggie and her mother went.
They canvassed the building, but most of the apartments were empty. The few remaining residents were tight-lipped. Just when their hope began to dwindle, an elderly man with kind eyes approached them.
You looking for the little girl who lived in apartment 2B?
Maggie? Did they say where they were going?
Don't rightly know. Heard they moved in with some relatives, but I couldn't tell you who or where.
Nancy fought back the wave of despair.
Wait, I did hear someone mention they were seen over on Elm Street. Rough part of town.
Elm Street was known for its poverty, crime, and dilapidated buildings. Nancy thanked the old man and hurried back to her patrol car. As they drove, the city lights gave way to darkness. Elm Street was a maze of narrow alleys and crumbling buildings. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Nancy. Her gut churned with a growing sense of dread. The faint sound of a dog barking reached their ears. Nancy's head snapped up. Maggie had mentioned a dog. Could this be it?
That's gotta be it.
Nancy said, her voice tight with anticipation. They followed the sound of barking, their footsteps echoing on the cracked pavement. They rounded a corner and found themselves facing a small, ramshackle house. The paint peeled from its walls, windows boarded up with plywood. And there, in the overgrown yard, a stray dog barked ferociously.
Maggie, it's Officer Nancy. We're here to help.
Silence met her words. Taking a deep breath, she crept towards the house, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. There, huddled in a corner, was a small figure clutching a teddy bear. Relief warred with a growing sense of unease in Nancy's chest. They had found Maggie, but where was her mother?
Maggie, honey, it's okay. We're here now.
Nancy said, her voice soft and reassuring.
Mommy's asleep. She won't wake up.
The words sent a chill down Nancy's spine.
Stand back.
Her partner said, his voice grim as he kicked in the front door. Nancy rushed inside, her flashlight beam dancing across the dilapidated interior. The house was sparsely furnished, the air thick with the smell of mildew.
Maggie, where's your mommy?
Nancy asked, her voice betraying her growing fear as she scooped the little girl into her arms.
She's in there.
With Maggie clinging to her, Nancy followed the hallway, her heart pounding against her ribs.
Mommy?
It's okay, sweetie.
Mommy's just sleeping, right?
Sweetie.
Where are they taking Mommy?
They're taking her to a special place, sweetie. A place where they can take care of her. The social worker, a kind-faced woman with tired eyes and a gentle touch, arrived at the station a few hours later.
Nancy watched as she spoke to Maggie, her voice soft and soothing.
Maggie, exhausted and emotionally drained, clung to her teddy bear.
We'll find you a nice place to stay, sweetie, the social worker was saying.
Nancy's heart clenched at the thought of Maggie being sent to a foster home.
Excuse me, Nancy interjected, her voice firm yet gentle.
The social worker turned towards her, a questioning look on her face.
I'd like to take Maggie home with me tonight, Nancy said. If that's all right.
The social worker's eyebrows shot up, surprise flickering across her features.
That's unusual, officer, she said, her voice laced with a hint of professional skepticism. Standard procedure is to place the child in temporary foster care until... I understand the procedure, ma'am, Nancy interrupted. But Maggie's been through enough trauma tonight. She needs stability, a sense of security.
Nancy's gaze shifted to Maggie, who sat huddled in a chair. The little girl's eyes, red-rimmed and filled with a weariness that belied her tender age, met Nancy's.
I can provide that, Nancy continued. I have a loving home, a supportive husband. We'll make sure Maggie's safe.
The social worker hesitated, her gaze flickering between Nancy and Maggie. Nancy could understand her hesitation, but sometimes the heart had its own set of rules. I'll need to speak to my supervisor, the social worker finally said, and we'll need to run some background checks, of course.
Nancy nodded, relief washing over her. Of course, she said.
While the social worker retreated to a corner to make some calls, Nancy knelt before Maggie.
How about we get you cleaned up and get you something to eat, she asked.
Maggie looked up at her, her lower lip trembling slightly.
Will Mommy be there? She asked.
Mommy's not feeling well right now, sweetheart, Nancy said. But I promise, we'll take good care of you until she's feeling better.
Who's this, Nancy?
This is Maggie. I found her... Well, it's a long story. Jacob, sensing my distress, reached out, his hand finding mine.
It's all right, take your time.
And so, I told him everything. As I spoke, a strange sense of calm settled over me. When I was finished, Jacob didn't speak for a moment. He simply stood there, his arm around me.
Well, I guess we've got a house guest.
And in that moment, I allowed myself to hope.
The days that followed were a blur of phone calls, paperwork, and hushed conversations. The social worker, true to her word, had been understanding and supportive of Nancy's decision. Background checks were expedited, home visits conducted, every I dotted, every T crossed. Through it all, Maggie had become a fixture in their home, a quiet presence that filled the empty spaces with a tenderness neither Nancy nor Jacob had realized they craved. But amidst the normalcy, a dark cloud lingered, a truth too painful to ignore. Maggie still believed her mother was in the hospital, still asked when she would come home. Nancy and Jacob had agreed to wait, to let the social worker handle that delicate conversation. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. The call came on a Wednesday, a somber voice on the other end of the line informing Nancy that Maggie's mother's funeral was scheduled for the following day. Nancy's heart sank. She had hoped to shield Maggie from this, to give her more time to process, to grieve. But reality, like a thief in the night, had come to collect its due.
I don't know how to tell her, Jacob. How do you tell a child that her mother is never coming back?
We'll find a way, Nancy. We'll find a way together.
Where are we? Why are all these people sad?
We're here to say goodbye to your mommy, sweetheart.
But why? Where's she going?
Sometimes when people get very sick, they go to a special place, a place called heaven.
Heaven? Is it far away?
Yes, sweetie. It's very far away. But even though your mommy is in heaven now, she'll always be with you in your heart.
What are we doing here?
We're making it official, sweetheart. From this day forward, you're going to be our little girl.
Really?
Really and truly, we're your family now, Maggie, and we're going to love you always and forever.
Tears welled in Nancy's eyes, blurring the scene before her into a kaleidoscope of emotions.
Really?
The judge's voice, a soothing baritone, washed over her, reciting the legal jargon that would forever bind their lives together.
Really?
And the unwavering conviction in Jacob's voice as he promised her a lifetime of love. As the judge spoke, Nancy's gaze drifted to Maggie. The little girl, once lost and alone, radiated a newfound sense of belonging. Her small hand nestled securely in Jacob's. Gone was the fear, the uncertainty that had haunted her eyes. In their place bloomed a fragile bud of hope, nurtured by the love that surrounded her like a warm embrace. The judge invited Maggie to sit on his lap, a grandfatherly gesture that brought a shy smile to the little girl's face. He presented her with a small gavel, its wooden surface worn smooth by the passage of time and countless pronouncements of justice. This gavel, the judge explained, his voice kind and patient, is a symbol of power, of the ability to make things right. He looked at Nancy and Jacob, his gaze filled with a warmth that transcended the formality of the courtroom. "Use it wisely," he said, his voice a gentle reminder of the responsibility they were undertaking. "Protect her, cherish her, guide her, and always, always fight for what's right, for what's just." Nancy and Jacob exchanged a look, a silent vow passing between them, a promise to honor the trust that had been placed in their hands. They would be Maggie's shield against the storms, her anchor in the chaos, her constant in a world that often felt anything but. As they stepped out of the courthouse, the sun felt warmer, the air sweeter. The world, once shrouded in a haze of grief and uncertainty, seemed to shimmer with newfound possibility. Maggie, her small hand tucked securely in Nancy's, skipped ahead of them, her laughter echoing through the air like a melody of pure joy. Life with Maggie was a whirlwind of bedtime stories, scraped knees, and the unbridled joy of witnessing the world through the eyes of a child. Nancy, once resigned to a life without children, found her heart overflowing with a love she never knew existed. Jacob, once content with the quiet rhythm of their life, embraced fatherhood with a gusto that surprised even himself. As the months turned into years, a new dream began to take root in Nancy's heart. She wanted to give Maggie a sibling, a brother or sister to share in the adventures that lay ahead. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. Months turned into years, and still, Nancy's prayers went unanswered. And then, one ordinary afternoon as Nancy was preparing dinner, a wave of nausea washed over her. At first, she dismissed it as a stomach bug, but as the days passed, a flicker of hope, fragile yet persistent, ignited within her. She dug out an old pregnancy test, her hands trembling as she followed the instructions.